You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
For the World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green. Thank you again for tuning in to another edition of this show. Well, we know that primarily on the menu for me is always an episode in review of WoW and what I thought of it and all those good things. But every once in a while, well, I'm not going to say every once in a while, it's becoming pretty regular now. We go into some news, views, and reviews and talk about some of the things that's going on in the world of women's wrestling in general, because I don't want to shortchange any major stories. There's not a lot of them that go on there, so when they do come out, we want to give it a little love, you know. So that is the primary goal when we go into this particular segment. However, it is always a primarily WoW thing, so there are some things that are from WoW that are peppered into the news, views, and reviews segment. So we will take it at that. And speaking of which, let's hit that right now. It is news, views, and reviews. If you didn't know, there are some books that are out on the... Well, I was going to say on the horizon, but it's not really on the horizon. Those books are out as we speak. One of which is Becky Lynch, The Man. You know, you want to know about her life and her career. This is the way that you're going to do it. She has talked about quite a bit of things in this book. One of which I was a little bit surprised about. I was thinking about it as I was saying it, but I was a little bit surprised about, but kind of not at the same time. She briefly talked about, I keep wanting to say Impact Wrestling, TNA Wrestling, because that's what it is now. Briefly, she spoke on that, and I was a little shocked, but she was very, very honest. Now, I should rewind this and say that this was an interview that she did in promotion of her book, Becky Lynch, The Man, Not Your Average Girl. I think that's not gal, girl. And she was very, very honest in this Ariel Helwani interview that she did in promotion of the book on the MMA Hour. So you can seek that out if you want to. Ariel Helwani and the MMA Hour with Becky Lynch as the guest. She's quoted as saying, and there's a clip actually on the TNA Wrestling Instagram page if you just want to hear the clip, if you want to hear it out of her mouth. But she's quoted as saying, "My goal was maybe I can get into TNA because the way they were treating women there was so much better." Now, you know, if this was the Vince McMahon era, those words probably would not have left her mouth. I'm pretty sure of that. I think that, you know, it's a more liberal company now, so probably feels a little bit more at ease in saying things like that. But yeah, I mean, you know, that I bring that particular clip up because it says a lot. It says a lot about the legacy that TNA has left as far as their women's wrestling is concerned. I know the WWE went on their little streak for a little while of, you know, we're women empowerment, we're doing this, we're doing that, you know, first ever Royal Rumble with women, first ever Money in the Bank, first ever Elimination Chamber match, and so on and so forth. And I don't want to discount them, but it does speak volumes, at least to me, that everything I thought at the time has been somewhat validated from the other side of the coin. That TNA Wrestling, in a wrestling perspective, had done better for women's wrestling than the WWE, and by proxy, pretty much every other company that existed, because they put them on as their main event. They put them on not just as a novelty. They had full matches. They had angles and storylines that were something you could invest yourself in, something that felt engaging. And to hear a WWE contracted wrestler mention that in an interview is something. I mean, there's an arguable point that her contract might be, she might be free of WWE in a couple of months, but still the fact remains that she's a contracted WWE wrestler right now, or at least during the time that she did that interview. Again, it speaks volumes to me, at least, of the change that's going on internally and the legacy of TNA. I always want to, bring that up because they have done a phenomenal job over the years, and they have a legacy attached to the Knockouts Championship. I was looking at that the other day, and just the names that are attached to that belt. I think when you look at it in modern day, there's not a women's championship that shares the high caliber lineage. I won't say lineage in terms of length, because that wouldn't be true, but the high caliber lineage that the TNA Knockouts Championship carries. I think right now they may arguably be the best of the bunch in terms of, the amount of people who are just extraordinarily talented to have held the championship. Of course, somebody could argue for NXT, you can argue for WWE and SmackDown, so on and so forth, but I think there's a real chance that you can put a fight up with the TNA wrestling roster, the Mickie Jameses, the Taras, and the Angelina Loves, the Awesome Kongs, the Siennas. Did I say Gail Kim? I don't remember saying Gail Kim, but the point is, there's a lot of Taylor Wilde, Deanna Purrazzo. It's just a lot of them, a lot of talented ladies that have held on to that. But to rope this back around to a contracted WWE wrestler that brought that up, Becky Lynch reportedly has 2 months left on her current WWE contract. That is another thing that you can look up. It is also unveiled as part of the interview that she had with Ariel Helwani. The transcript reads as follows. Ariel Helwani asks, "Is this your final year of your contract?" She responds, "It is the final 2 months." He says, "This is fun. I like this." Her response, "You wanted me to be honest." He says, "Yes, I do. I love honesty. Any talks of the renewal?" She responds, "Nothing's been said to me." Ariel Helwani, "Are you interested in renewal?" She says, "We'll see." "What do you mean we'll see?" She responds, "We'll see," and laughs. They have that in brackets. Ariel Helwani, "What happens after 2 months? If you don't have a deal, can you talk to others?" She responds, "I'm WWE." He then replies, "Okay, so it's WWE or bust." Her response to that, "Yeah, I just don't know." Ariel Helwani, "Is there a chance this is your last WrestleMania?" Becky Lynch, "I doubt that." Helwani, "Is this common that it would be 2 months out and no deal?" Becky Lynch, "Nuh-uh." Ariel Helwani, "Maybe that's the difference in the Endeavor era and this old era. Interesting. Are you nervous about this? Are you anxious about it? Do you feel disrespected that there isn't a new deal in front of you?" Her response, "At this stage in the game, contrary to a lot of thoughts in this book from when I was coming up, I am so confident in my ability and my worth, I'm not worried." Helwani, "Do you think this gets settled before WrestleMania?" Becky Lynch, "I don't know. There's a lot coming up before WrestleMania. I just gave you my schedule for the next month. I don't know when I'm going to get to play Zombie again for my 3-year-old. And that transcript is provided by Fightful. So as it is right now, she has 2 months left. The man, Becky Lynch, has 2 months left on her contract. But she does not appear worried. She does not appear concerned. I'm sure having another competitor in the market helps her out a big deal with that. And by that, I mean AEW. She could probably get every cent that she wants out of that. If she wants freedom, I'm sure she can go to TNA. And I'm sure there's somebody there that can advocate for how good or bad she was treated with Naomi back in the company. So as it is right there, we got Becky Lynch. Her book is out. It's available. She's been very open and honest, at least in this particular interview. If you want to hear more about it, I'm sure you can track that down. The book is available now. You can find that at greater retail stores and where books are sold, or as they used to say, everywhere books are sold. Speaking of books, Ronda Rousey also has a book available. And talk about somebody who is not held back in her opinions about certain persons and their, and companies. Ronda Rousey mentioned in an interview, and I'm summarizing here because I don't want to go through reading it again like I just did. But she's basically said that she can say what she wants, and what she has always had the ability to say what she wants because she wasn't in the same position as some of the other ladies on the roster. And I said that before, and I absolutely agreed because it's true. She walked into that organization as pretty much a name, a millionaire. It's the only reason that they had a women's main event that particular year, or at least tried it, because Ronda Rousey was there. It's the only reason they had an all-women's pay-per-view, because Ronda Rousey was there. She facilitated a lot of things just by her presence of being there. And she talked open and freely about Vince McMahon and the WWE. As I said, saying that she didn't need the WWE like other ones do, which, of course, allowed her to speak her mind. If there's one thing that you can get out for her interviews is that she does not like Bruce Pritchard. I mean, she might not like some other people there, but she does not like Bruce Pritchard. She said earlier in one of those tweets when Vince McMahon was fired, it's like, as long as Bruce Pritchard is there, he's basically Vince McMahon's avatar. And that he was controlling things through Bruce the first time he was, air quotes, fired. She speaks about that and WWE culture in general. Mentions specific incidents that I guess would go to support some of this. Now, look, it is up to the reader to decide for themselves whether this is Ronda Rousey being angry and bitter, and because you can always kind of brush things off like that to being angry and bitter. It's happened in media for decades. You don't like what somebody says, just label them angry, bitter, or crazy, and it'll go away. Especially when you have people that come off aggressive and angry. It only, in a lot of people's minds, only validates them. Now, see, I told you that she's crazy. She's angry. She's just mad. So I'm sure Ronda knows that is in front of her and probably doesn't care. And within the interviews and talking about this book, it says that she would not go back to WWE. I was going to say it's very unlikely, but that's what she says. But a lot of people have said that. A lot of people have said, I'm never going back to WWE. And look what happens. Almost everybody goes back. Everybody goes back. I mean, CM Punk, he might have held out for the longest, but we talked 7 years. What was it? No, it's over 7 years. I think he was, 8.5? Because he spent his return in AEW. Something like that, 8.5, 9 years, and he shows back up. Yeah, everybody goes back. So whereas, especially now, I don't think that she might have made those statements before the WWE was in the era that is in now. There is no Vince McMahon. Bruce Pritchard may be there, but he didn't have the same power that he did just because Vince McMahon isn't there. And also, the WWE is now owned by TKO, which also owns the UFC, which is where both of her legacies lie. I doubt that as much disdain as she may have for the WWE, she may rethink that. And I say may because, look, she might just be done with them just in general. But she may rethink that, like, well, it's not the same environment, so it's all well and good. She clearly has not disliked wrestling. She's popped up a couple of places. One of the matches that she had, I thought, was very good. She was in a tag match with Shafir against Athena. Well, that's the name she goes by now, and I cannot remember her partner. If it pops up, then I'll say it. But she had a partner with her, one of the young ladies from Ring of Honor, which is why I don't remember it because I don't watch Ring of Honor. But the point is that she was in there, and it wasn't like the old Ronda Rousey, I'm a special star, and I come in and I squash people. She actually had a tag match, and it was probably maybe like 15 minutes, if not longer. I mean, easily it had to been a good 15 or so. So in any case, Ronda Rousey and her book are available, with her talking about her life, MMA, the WWE. I think for those of you out there that are looking for some special information as far as WWE is concerned, that might be, I want to say it'd be far-fetched because, yeah, I know that there's going to be some stuff in that book that people are going to find, particularly juicy and, ready to just go into, oh, man, look how crazy it was behind the scenes. But I don't know if there's anything that you don't know. I'll put it that way. I don't know that there's anything that you don't know already. But the name of the book is Rousey, Our Fight, a memoir. So if you are looking for it, there you go. They have it available in multiple editions and at greater bookstores everywhere. If you did not get the opportunity, and if you live outside of Los Angeles and the broadcast signals of KCAL, you probably didn't know that Jeannie Buss had an interview there, but KCAL appears to be one of the home bases for someone as a Jeannie Buss. This is a Los Angeles-based television station. Or at least a secondary one. I forget what is attached. KCBS. It's attached to KCBS. But in the interview, of course, she talks about, she makes a mention of WoW. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because, some of the WoW personnel and WoW girls posted that Gina Buss is, they liked the interview. There's not a lot of stuff in there. I mean, I wish I could tell you that it was like heavy in information or she talked about WoW, but it's nothing you haven't heard before if you've listen to a Gina Buss interview talking about WoW. It's just a small segment in there. Most of the interview is based on her father, the acquisition of becoming the owner of the Lakers, her, I think she mentions her first marriage, her love life, which leads into her current marriage, and I believe that's about it. So I mean, if you find those things fascinating, I thought the interview was fine. It just didn't relate a lot in terms of women's wrestling, other than, like I said, it's the stuff that you've heard already. Like, we have our women's division, women were used as novelties. Here they could be the main event. It was the same overall talking points that she has used. The only thing that I would say for her, if she does this interview again, and I'm pretty sure she will, she may want to go into the future referring to WoW as the only all-female televised wrestling promotion. And this is a small thing. I'm not saying that she has to do it or else it's going to fail. No, this is just a small suggestion on my part. Just because it makes you sound like you know about your own product and the environment that product exists in. I don't think that she is aware of the environment that the product exists in. She might be aware of the product, but not necessarily what's up and around it. And maybe she doesn't care because none of those have television. But when she says we're the only all women's female promotion, that's it sounds good, but it's just not true. It's just not. And we can't shave the facts. The facts are the facts. There's Girl Fight. There's Shimmer. There's Shine. WSU, I think, is in some form of existence. There was one I just saw the other day. It was a brand new one. I couldn't even remember this because Brittany Brooks is going there, and I was like, wow, they got another all women's wrestling promotion. Spark, which is offshoot from Japan. Stardom. And Stardom is televised. It's televised in Japan, but it's televised. So in a global scale, it's not the only all-female televised program. In America, it is, but it's not the only all-female promotion. So, and again, that's not a huge deal. I'll repeat, I'm not saying that, well, if you don't do this, then it's going to go down the toilet or whatever. Just as a talking point, because whether she wants it or not, there are going to be a certain amount, maybe a small amount, but a certain amount of wrestling fans that are going to go on and just look for stuff like that. And I would say, hey, look, just mention it for what it is. It's the only all-female televised wrestling promotion. So, which kind of brings the mention, does WoW have any competition? I would say yes. That would be my thing. I would say yes, but I don't really have any competition TV wise. And as far as a wrestling promotion, sure, they have that. But we want to. I think I need to save that in a listing because I was getting the impression that I probably need to do a special just on that alone. I was looking at some other all-women's wrestling UWW. I forgot to mention that in my list. I was looking at some other all-women's wrestling promotions, UWW being one, and just noticing the differences between the two. It became so difficult for me to look at it and not see either the similarities or the differences. And those two promotions in general, or specifically, they're like night and day. And I thought I would include that here, but I was like, maybe I just need to just do that on his own, as his own little thing. Like the big differences between WoW Women of Wrestling and UWW Ultimate Women of Wrestling. I'm surprised why it doesn't go out there with a lawsuit at this point, quite honestly. I mean, but maybe putting Ultimate in front of it circumvents that. But in any case, yeah, I'm strongly leaning towards that and researching some of the other all-women's promotions that are across the country, including Spark. Like I said, the Japanese-based women's wrestling promotion that has worked its way into the United States. And not only that, I mean, it is not going to be just all Japanese girls wrestling there. You have some local talent, and I think they're kind of leaning on that to broaden the audience, for lack of a better term. Spark Joshi. So when you think about that, just look through. I mean, just think about the idea that the more of the ladies that they collect, the bigger the issue will become for promotions like WoW. Whereas before, as it is right now, they pretty much could have their pick of the litter if they wanted it. I don't know if that's something that they want right now, rather than just to go ahead and make their own talent and girls. Because if you listen to a couple of podcasts ago, you know that there was a ad for women's wrestlers. Well, they didn't say women's wrestlers, for superheroes in the backstage.com. And doing that, they're able to kind of create their own talent. That's why I say if they wanted to do it, they could, but clearly they don't. Having a Spark Joshi Pro will offset the balance if they are able to succeed in breaching the market. As it is right now, I don't know if Spark has a big audience beyond the audience that Spark has, if that makes sense. It's kind of like what I talk about with WoW. It's like WoW has his audience. WoW has his hardcore WoW audience. And they probably aren't going to go anywhere. They're not reaching out to anybody else, so it's probably not going to grow, but they're fine with that because the people that love WoW are the people that love WoW, and they will continue to love it. Spark, I think, is like that right now. The people that love Spark Joshi are the people that love that type of wrestling, and it's not anything that it's not wrong. It's not anything that will help that company grow either. But point there being, if they really attempted it, if they really tried, along with the other ones, because the whole point of this rant was, well, it's not a rant. Anyway, but the whole point of this rant was to go into, does WoW have competition? And I would say, as of right now, my answer easily was yes, but it's yes with a caveat. It's yes with they're not on the same platform. They're fighting for the same market, but they're not on the same platform to have a fair fight, if that makes sense. Okay? All right. So, now that I've gone through that, and I'm not going to give any more wrestling news and what have you, I think it's time that we go into WoW, because I've been going longer and longer and longer. These rants have been so long. They've been fun. I've had a good time doing these podcasts lately, actually. They've been fun, but yeah, I'm going to try to keep this into a nice, concise review. So, let us get ready and head to the review. All right. This is the review of WoW episode 228. The title, Dominance Declared, the air date, March 23rd. The seasonal number, 228. The chronological number, episode 80. The show opens up with Nigel Zane and David McLane recapping the finals of their terrible trios tournament. That is how I feel about the tournament, at least. It was good for establishing a new team. It was bad for the tournament itself. If their only goal was to establish top tier, then bravo. If they were looking to, let's put some value on this tournament, and it could be an annual thing, and we could get something out of it, and make fans want to see it, and things like that. If that was the goal, then they failed. I don't think that the trios tournament did nearly what it could have done. And the flag was waved for that the second that they recycled the Mighty Mites into the first round. I was trying to get by the fact that Team Spirit had swapped and switched members per round in the thing because part of that wasn't their fault. But the entirety of or the thought of having the Mighty Mites just hop back in without rhyme or reason because they just declared the tournament as fluid. It was so absurd. And that's not the only problem I have with it, but that's the most glaring one. So they recapped the tournament, including the post-match events with Ariel Sky and the members of Team Spirit being attacked. Then we have Top Tier, the new faction, shall we say, in WoW. They enter into the ring. They have a brand new trophy, and which I'm glad that they acknowledged that it's a new trophy. The commentators brought it up, David McLane specifically. My question is like, did WoW just go ahead and give them another trophy? Or like it had the WoW logo on it. Now, that's not to say that Top Tier in story could have just gone out and done their own. But because it just, I swear it was the first thing I thought. I said, it just wouldn't make sense for WoW to reward these three. But like, oh, you just broke this trophy that we had for weeks over Ariel Sky's back. But don't worry about it. We'll just buy you a new one. I promise you, it was the first thing I thought when I saw them walk out with the trophy. Now, again, that's not to say that they don't have their internal reasons for that. Because if I was in the creative and I wanted to write that off, I would just say that, Top Tier paid for their own trophy. We won the tournament. We deserve a trophy. Yeah, I broke it over her back, so I'll just get me another one. We'll make the money back because we're Top Tier. So, I don't really have a problem with them having a secondary trophy. I just thought it was kind of funny to me. Campanelli comes out, and of course, she starts cutting the promo. Starts with, I guess you people want an explanation or something to that effect. And then she goes, well, I'm going to give you anyway. The commentators, of course, yelling, of course we do. They're all excited and whatnot. I didn't get that feeling from the fans. It's not like they shouted yes or they booed or, whatever the case may be. It was like a low muttering of ambient sound. But it didn't make me feel like she's like, well, I'm going to give it to you anyway. It's not like the crowd shut it down. That's one of the things I'm concerned about with this team and just WoW in general, because sometimes it's like they perform what they know they're supposed to perform. This is the script. This is the things that you're supposed to do. This is the things you're supposed to say. And regardless of what goes on out in that arena, just do it. That's what it feels like. I cannot prove that that's what they do, but that's what it feels like. And before I go any further, I'm just going to say, on the surface of it, I like Top Tier. On the surface of them right now, I like Top Tier. I don't think that they're all polished. I don't think Candy Crush is polished. I don't think Coach is polished. But I think they've leaned enough into the personas that they have on this program to be passable, to do what it is that they need to do. I think Crush could get it if she kept going with it. Campanelli probably could do the same, and I hope, I'm crossing my fingers right now, I hope that this is the beginning of the evolution of her persona. All of them, really. Because, as I was saying, part of the reason that I'm okay with it just on this top layer is because they went and they came out as a unit. They came out with matching tracksuits. They've established this is our colors. White, black, and gold. And I love that. I absolutely love that. It feels so much better. And I am glad that Coach is so far away from those vignettes that she did in the beginning. I am glad that Candy Crush is so far away from that angle that she did with her gloves, because those things were silly and ridiculous. Coach had vignettes that clearly showed her as thinking she was a great athlete, but she couldn't do the things that she was doing. Trying to take a shot with the basketball and missing it, but not seeing it because she turns her back because she's so confident that she made it. Things like that. And Crush crying about the gloves. And then when she finally wins the right to get them back, it's like, I don't need them anymore. You know, I felt so good about just top tier in general. Even with what I would consider a cartoon character like Gloria Glitter, the change in the look alone helps me. The only thing that I would say that I think that needs to change, and I know this is already done, but I hope that if they keep going past the tapings that they've already shot, which is probably for the next 4 months, but if there was any change that I would add to this, when Crush gets the microphone, she still is delivering a somewhat baby-faced paced promo. Not in words, but the pace. And the pace being when she goes to let's go, you know, it's the same as she's always given it. I think that she needs to bring that down a notch. I think that she needs to deliver it with more menace. If she's going to remain using that as a catchphrase, I think she needs to deliver it more deliberately with a little bit more menace behind it, you know, without trying to, you hold it like, let's go, you know, it's kind of like inviting the fans to come with you on that. I don't need the fans, let's go. Just a change in tone, that's all. That's just a little bit of suggestion there. So anyway, Campanelli, I know I went right around the bend. I got to go back to the promo. She's basically explaining why she dropped Team Spirit. In the explanation, she's saying that I dropped them because she has an A-team now. And she gives praise to Candy Crush. She gives praise to Gloria Glitter, which I also feel like is a bit of an evolution for Coach. I don't know if that says anything good for Team Spirit necessarily, but I think it's an evolution for Coach in that she's not presenting them as less than. Where even as an alleged babyface, and I never felt like she was a full-on babyface, but even as an alleged babyface, Coach was very condescending to Team Spirit, to Ariel Sky, to Randy Rara, to whoever. Here, she didn't feel like she was condescending to her teammates. She might have been condescending, but she didn't feel like she was condescending to her teammates. She uplifted them verbally. She gave them praise. And I thought that, okay, I'm good with it. It's another reason why I felt like, all right, I like this. First off, I like once Candy Crush dropped the silliness, I was good with her. I've already liked Gloria Glitter before she got there as Delilah Doom. Coach, I'm kind of on the fence about because I need to see her work as a pure heel rather than a disguised one to see how I feel about her. So I'm still on the fence about that. I don't know where I stand with Coach Campanelli yet, but I like the look. I like that. I'm not even going to say I like the look. I love the look. I love the look. They all look like athletes. That is, then it just hit me. I was like, that's the difference with them in my mind opposed to a lot of other people there right now. They all look like athletes. They don't look like they jumped off the page of a comic book or off a Saturday morning cartoon. They look like this could be a team. And I'm here for that. I'm absolutely here for that. I hope that it does not meet the brick wall of coming up against another team for the top spot. In my mind right now, gosh, I'm talking about this a lot. This is just the first segment. In my mind right now, top tier should be somewhat slotted as the top team, heel team in WoW, top faction. But I don't know if they can accomplish that so long as there's a Fabulous Four. The Fabulous Four has occupied that space for a little over a year now. And I think that it's about time for them to cycle down in the pecking order. They can't remain on top, but I'm not sure if WoW is going to do it. I would really like to see heels, but unity amongst the heels for right now with Coach and Glitter and Crush. With, one of them being nominated as being able to go after the championship and the other two going after the tag team championship. To do the thing that a good heel faction would do. I would love to see that. I will stay tuned to future episodes. I just don't feel like they're going to do that right now. But anyway, so she gives her response as to, hey, I got myself an A team and Team Spirit. They were a B team. And she gives the microphone to Crush, and then she gives the microphone to Glitter. I'm speeding through this now because I talked enough about it. It very, very nice. I like the segment. McLane needs to shut up while they're talking, but other than that, it was a good segment. Nice heel promo. I could have used a declarative statement as to what it is that they're specifically trying to do. I could have used that, but it's not that big of a deal. Next segment, Katarina Jinx takes on Princess Aussie. Aussie comes out with a new outfit, which only makes me believe, along with the other little things within the course of the show, that this must have been the beginning of a new taping cycle. So the first thing that I got with this, and this is pretty much a squash match, so I'm not going to go through any sort of play-by-play for it, but the first thing I got here was, is Katarina Jinx supposed to be a babyface or she's supposed to be a heel? I don't understand Katarina Jinx because she comes out and she's shaking the hands of the fans. Of course, she's facing off against a babyface. She didn't really cheat here, but generally speaking, I don't know if WoW does the babyface versus babyface. They've done heel versus heel a few times, but I don't know what to deal with the Katarina. Can't even say it. Katarina. God. Whew. Katarina Jinx. I've been saying Katrina. Sorry. It's Katarina Jinx. But no, I don't understand what she is in terms of her motivation. She doesn't speak. The promo, or not promo, but the opening introduction video that she did all those months ago meant nothing. It's just random talk. And really, if I was in a position in that company to say, we don't need to do that, she's one of the ones I've been like, we don't need to do that. Why do we need to make a vignette for this woman if her job is to go out there and put the other stars over? We don't need to know who she is. We don't need to know her motivations. We don't need to know that she likes to play cat and mouse. For what? She's not going to do anything with it. And she didn't do anything with it here. So to get to the point of it, because this match was basically here to facilitate a move forward. It was nice. And to give Katarina some credit, she kept up with what Aussie was doing. Looked like it had a new referee there working, just as a side note. But Aussie hits Katarina with a cutter, which is the setup for her splash with the top rope. She hits that. 1, 2, 3. We're done. And that is the first match. Princess Aussie wins. That's why I say it wasn't really anything important there. It was just there to fill time. But then Aussie gets on the microphone. And as she starts talking about nothing because she didn't get too far before Reina Del Rey came charging in the ring with a steel chair, and good on her that she actually popped her in the back with it. She didn't hit her light. She brought it down and she made it sound good. Made it sound and look good. Whereas there are other people in that company that seem incapable of that. But Del Rey, she delivered the goods with that. The only thing there is that it's maybe it was me. But the only thing with that, it looked like Aussie was just waiting on this thing. Like the way that she's looking around, the way she's standing, the way she's bobbing back and forth is I don't know. It looked like she was waiting on something. And that something was a chair shot to the back. So she takes that. And Del Rey makes it clear that she's there to clear a path, and that Aussie's just in the way. I was good with this too, quite honestly. Katarina Jinx didn't need to be doing anything competitive with Princess Aussie, and it wasn't a competitive match. She got a couple of moves here. It wasn't a complete squash. It should have been, but it wasn't a complete squash, so I can't say that it was competitive. Aussie got what she was supposed to get. She popped her with the cutter, got her finish in, and then they moved on to the next thing. She got hit in the back and is like, oh, well, I guess we're starting up a new feud. Which, when I think about Reina Del Rey's career in WoW so far, it feels like there's always been a stop for what she had in front of her. Maybe she feels different. Maybe some of the fans feel different. But in my mind, it feels like she always had somewhat of a stop just in front of her for whatever it is the storyline was, whatever it is that the angle happened to be. She just, it just never really kind of formed itself out. When she was in a feud with the Beast, that got cut short because the Beast got her ankle broken in the triple threat match that Del Rey was in along with Tormenta. And thus, whatever big thing that she had with the Beast or potentially had with the Beast, that was now gone. Then she goes into tag team wrestling. Joins or forms Last Call with Wrecking Ball. They went against the Tonga Twins no less than 3 times. 3 times up, 3 times down. One of those times was edited for narrative purposes. So we don't know if Last Call won the last one or not, or what the original plans would have been. The point here being is that the team no longer exists. Wrecking Ball gave her notice and she had to leave, which I would assume was part of the reason that match was edited as such. And again, Reina Del Rey's path is somewhat overturned. And now we're here. She's back as a single. And she is clearing a path, as she says. Pops Princess Aussie in the back, and then she goes off. And they talk to her later, or at least attempt to, and we'll get to that in a minute. So we've got another route that Reina Del Rey has to take. Hopefully it will last for her. But who knows, man? I mean, it seems like she has not had the best luck angle-wise in a while so far. One of the other things before I get to the next segment, and, 2 things. I wish WoW would stop using that lower third former champion plastered into, whoever had the championship, like Princess Aussie. Princess Aussie, former champion. Like, that will get old eventually if that policy doesn't change. Because, what are you going to do? Put that on for everybody? that wins the championship. Miami Sweet Heat, former tag team champions. Team Spirit, former tag team champions. The Beast, former champion. Like, you keep doing that. After a while, there will be no special to it. You know what I mean? It's special when it's brought up and supported by the commentators. You don't need to see it every week as a lower third to try to separate them from the rest of the pack. The commentary should separate them from the rest of the pack. The booking should separate them from the rest of the pack. The way they work should be to separate them from the rest of the pack, not the lower third. That would be different if this was a special event. If this is a pay-per-view, I guess. I mean, you might be able to get away with it there, but I don't think that is necessary in this instance. Miami Sweet Heat, they cut a promo at the bottom of the Wild Steps. I'm happy to say that they have not had to use those steps, and I haven't had to mention them for quite some time. I did skip something. I need to rewind myself before I go into this segment, so I apologize. I was talking about Reina Del Rey, and I just wanted to mention this real quick because on the press releases and the press site that I get for WoW, as I told you before, I will get the rundown for what the episode is supposed to be, and if you go to the press site, they give you all the photos that were taken for what was taped in that episode. There, in this particular episode, it seems like it was intended to have Reina Del Rey wrestling against Sandy Shore for whatever reasons. But that's the way that I have it listed right now. Now, it's not listed in the match. Everything that the match, or I shouldn't say the match, I meant the episode. Everything that was listed for the episode is there. We saw everything that they had mentioned throughout the course of the show within this episode. The Princess Aussie and Katarina Jinx, Miami Sweet Heat and Heavy Metal Sisters, Tormenta, Tiki Charmorro, and the main event, Penelope Pink, G.I. Jane. It just so happens that here they have a fifth match listed, which is usually 4 per episode. So it's a little bit unusual, but it is Reina Del Rey and photos against Sandy Shore. So I can only assume that this probably was a short match, squash match, really didn't do anything other than give Reina Del Rey the ability to look dominant and for Spring Break 24/7 to look like chumps. That's about the only way that I can say it. Because there is a photo that has both of them laid out, even though this is a singles match. So I can only guess that after she beats up Sandy Shore, Crystal Waters probably walked into the ring, and then the both of them got just, or I shouldn't say the both. Crystal Waters joined her tag team partner in unconsciousness somehow. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up, that it appears that there is a match that might have been taped for this episode that just never made air. So back to the segment with Miami Sweet Heat. They cut the promo at the bottom of the Wild Steps. They're an over-animated tag team, but they're fun. So there's not that much I can say about it. This is just who they are. It's I don't know if they want to keep doing what they've been doing. I haven't personally minded it, but I can understand if it might become a problem as it goes forward. That being, Miami Sweet Heat seems to be calling out the very obvious truths on some of these persons that they have on WoW. Like before, when it was like, hey, why aren't we the number one contenders? Why is Team IQ Superior getting it? Have they even won a match? And I mean, they it's a heel thing to do, so I can't really fault them. And they're not facing them, so I can't say that they should prop their opponents up. It's just funny to hear them say it. What I find completely obvious. So they did it again. They did it again. They then, at the bottom of these steps, they call out the reality of Fury's the failure of her solo wrestling career. And that basically that she couldn't cut it as a single, so she had to go and get a tag team partner. And, and then they call their win. I mean, now that's not verbatim, but that's basically what they were getting into. And like I said, they're over animated when they do this, but I cannot disagree with them. I can't disagree with them. And they're supposed to be heels. I can't disagree with them. And they call it out the obvious. They call it out, well, she went for the singles career. She didn't work out, so she went just right back to tag team wrestling. And reformed the Heavy Metal Sisters. So, yeah. That segment amused me. Yeah, that I gotta give them credit. That segment amused me. Maybe more of this out of Miami Sweet Heat would be entertaining. For them just to not give a crap about anybody, just call out just the stuff that we as the viewer can see, because WoW as an entity and the commentators can never acknowledge that, and they don't ever acknowledge that. They're not going to say, well, Spring Break 24/7 doesn't have a really good winning record. They're largely not going to say things like that. So it could be fun. I'm not saying that that's where they're going to go, but I don't know if I would be totally against it yet. I thought I would be. I absolutely thought I would be when they did the thing the last time we saw them, when they called out Team IQ Superior. But for whatever reason, it just tickles me. I don't know why, because it's such a small thing. It's not like it takes up the entirety of the segment, but it just tickles me. It just does. So the next segment, we have the previously mentioned Miami Sweet Heat coming out with the manager, Lana Starr, and then we got the Heavy Metal Sisters. Not the new Heavy Metal Sisters, but they haven't acknowledged them as that. But what did I tell you? This is just like that episode I got a couple of weeks ago. What did I tell you? You could have gotten away with saying, no, you don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Gray. They tagged up, but that was just a one-time thing. They aren't the Heavy Metal Sisters. They're just two people of like minds that just happen to come together and have this tag team. Nope. It is official now. They are the Heavy Metal Sisters, and you knew the second that Rebel Hayes popped up on anybody's TV screen. I was like, yeah, that she's going to be a Heavy Metal Sister. We all know she's going to be a Heavy Metal Sister. There is nothing about this that makes me feel any differently. And here we are. Last week was just confirmation for me that they were going to make them a team. This week it is absolutely official. It is official. They are now listed as the Heavy Metal Sisters. So we couldn't get all those promises that she had. I mean, and I like Fury, but all those promises that she had, all that stuff that she talked about. I'm going to get the heaviest metal of them all, the WoW Championship. I guess that is no longer on the table. If there is nothing else that I can say about Sweet Heat and Lana Starr, they certainly look the part. I wish Lana has the mannerisms down. She's getting the mannerisms of a heel manager. She does not come out there attempting to be liked. And I absolutely appreciate her for that. She comes out there with an air about her. She comes out there looking down on people. She comes out there praising her team. She is what I wanted out. The only chink in the armor for me is that she has not become a great linguist yet as far as managerial promos are concerned. I mean, she delivers with conviction, but she has not delivered a statement of this is why we're here, this is what we're doing, and whatever things that she has to do. She hasn't become a cunning linguist in that respect. Heavy Metal Sisters 2.0 feels just like that. It feels like we had some version of it, so we just have to have another one. And I don't know what to say. I mean, look, it's not the team that people began to recognize as the Heavy Metal Sisters. And it doesn't feel like that. Like Rebel Hayes feels like she belonged in that group, but not necessarily in the group. I don't know how it's a weird way to describe that. Like she looks like she should be a Heavy Metal Sister, although she shouldn't be in the team, the Heavy Metal Sisters. It feels like a poor substitute. That's what Rebel Hayes feels like to me. She got the look and the persona, but I don't really feel that out of her yet. She's still, in a lot of times, feels like she's playing wrestler. Like, hey, guys, and I'm going to be Rebel Hayes. Yeah. It just feels like she's just playing the part of being Rebel Hayes rather than she is that. This was, it wasn't bad, but there's a lot of points in this match that felt like it was just in slow motion for me. I don't know why. It didn't feel like it was moving at any sort of reasonable pace. It was like the Miami Sweet Heat slowed themselves down, particularly when Rebel Hayes got in there. It felt like they slowed themselves down to accommodate the pace that she had to work. If that makes sense, like just go back and watch the match. Like I have to walk into this obvious arm bar that I have to give. I have to walk into this arm drag that she has to give. I have to stand here and look at you after you slid past my clothesline and stand there looking again as you sweep my leg. I mean, it just didn't feel like it was moving the way that it should move. It was, in some regard, for me, it was like moving in quicksand. Or that the pace of the video was turned down by a third or something like that. They seemed okay at times, but I just didn't have it for this. I just did not have it for this match. There was bright spots that took place in it, but not enough for me to like, oh man, you've got to watch this. And other than a knee to the back of Rebel Hayes by Lynn, I can never remember which one was which. Lori. Other than like a knee to the back by Lori, I don't know if they really cheated all that much. It almost didn't even feel like Miami Sweet Heat was a heel team here. I mean, Lindsay fought out of the corner between the two baby faces. I mean, she's firing off shots and getting herself free. It felt like a perfectly competent tag team. Even if the match felt like it was in slow motion, it felt like they were a competent tag team that just had to, like, I have to move at a snail's pace to make this match work. I said there was one thing I wanted Lana Star to work on, and I forgot that there was another one in my notes. I want her to work on her cheating also. Like the grabbing of the wrist on the outside is not a real good cheating move. It doesn't really illustrate that I'm hurting this person necessarily. It might be, but it just doesn't look that way on camera. I would prefer, or I would suggest that she grab her arms around the back of their neck and pull them down on the ropes, because the instant reaction that people have is that you're choking them. even when they had their arms and their shoulders in the way to prevent the choke, visually it looks good. It looks better than just grabbing the wrist because, you almost look like an idiot for taking the yanking of the wrist. Like either I should be able to pull back and stop you, or I could just go forward and take the pressure off. But it doesn't look as good as just grabbing around the back of the neck and then pulling down, making them bounce on the ropes to illustrate what is potentially a choke. So there's the point in the match where Miami Sweet Heat, they did what would have been a nice double team, but the timing seemed to be off. Bravo to the editing team that switched the camera angle so you couldn't see it all that good. But Lori, I'm sorry, my dear, but it seems like you did not make the contact to Rebel Hayes for y'all double team move quite in time. It looked like it would have been a complete shot / face plant combination. That's what it looked like it would have been. But it just didn't work out that way. It's like the timing was just a tad off. Lindsay brought her down. Lori was coming in, but by the time Lori was coming in, the move was already in execution. If that makes sense. Just go back and watch it, and when you see the angle, you'll see what I'm talking about. She just really didn't get the opportunity to help plant the face like she probably would have liked. I appreciate the efforts of Rebel Hayes, but I absolutely think that she needs work. She feels to me like somebody who is just trained to be that persona rather than trained to be a pro wrestler. Like she's trained to be that specific thing. Rebel Hayes. I know how to be her, but I don't know how to be a pro wrestler. I don't know if that makes sense to a lot of people, but that's what it comes off like to me. So long story short, they will ignore the fact that Laura did not connect with the double team move. They got that in. Rebel tags out to Fury. Fury does come in and do some nice moves there for a little while. She gets a nice knee lift. I don't know what she particularly calls that, but she gets a nice knee lift on Lori. But this is why Miami Sweet Heat is the top team in the company so far, or at least at this point. Lori shoves Fury off. Fury gets a blind tag in the back by Rebel Hayes, who probably should have came back in there. Lindsay comes in. She gives her a shot in the guts. And then we get the coverage shot that takes place by the editing team where they go cut to the crowd, but I guess they were taking too long. That's my guess. I think they might have been taking too. I will never know this because I wasn't there and I don't have the raw footage. But when they cut to the crowd at the end of this, like, okay, there's some coverage that they're trying to make sure the match flows well, that they're trying to cover up something, or whatever the case may be. When we come back to this, Fury's on the floor on the left of the screen, and Lindsay and Lori are prepped for the Fab Jab. They come. Lori comes off the top rope, nails the move, which is a nice move. It looks good. But there was very little. It came down really quick. I can't tell if there was any space, air, or opportunity between that hit because it looked real snug. Only Rebel Hayes would be able to tell you whether she got hit or not, and she was kind of hanging there like a limp noodle. It might have just really looked good on camera. I mean, because it came down as quick as it did, and it's hard to tell. But it looked great. That's all I'm gonna say. It looked great in terms of impact. So if she didn't hit her, then bravo, good job. That if she didn't do it, it was very close. It was good on screen. Probably a combination between their efforts and the editing team. So, but they hit that 1, 2, 3. That's it. That's it. They were done. I thought it was a little bit too competitive at points. honestly. Miami Sweet Heat, in my view, is and should be positioned as a superior team than the Heavy Metal Sisters. Heavy Metal Sisters was this is their second time being in the ring, whereas Miami Sweet Heat has already been 3-time tag team champions. I don't feel like that is an unreasonable thing to say. If they were trying to do something with Rebel Hayes to make it look good, that's fine. But I really feel like as far as continuity is concerned, this was the right call. As far as continuity and hierarchy in the company, this is the right call. Miami Sweet Heat should win this, and they should win convincingly, and that's what they did. At the end, Lana Star comes in, she cuts a promo, and this was, it's pretty much a Lana Star promo. Hey, we're Fabulous Four, and this is Miami Sweet Heat, the best team, and we're coming out titles. That's basically it. I don't want them to keep getting in the habit of constantly referencing David McLane when they do their promos. And they are constant about that. If they get up in the ring and they're facing the hard cam and it's a heel group, it's very likely they're going to, and David, listen to me, they're going to go into that. I keep saying it every episode. I don't know why they keep doing this. I don't like when they do this. They shouldn't do this because there's nowhere to go with it. There's that just to involve David McLane for the sake of involving David, and that's all it is. There's nothing gained from this. There's no match that you can get from it. There's no important information that you can get from it. It's not involving anything that allows him or needs him to make a ruling of any sort. There's nothing here. It's just talking to him for the sake of talking to him. It's like when they said, you didn't want us here, but we got the tag title shot anyway, because the Cream Roster's top. You remember that just before they was about to take on whoever the champions were at the time, the Tonga Twins. And then his response was, well, but you didn't get the first shot. So what did that mean? It was a pointless comment and a pointless thing. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't mean anything. It didn't do anything. So I would not want them to get into the habit of doing this all the time, and they keep doing it. Every heel has to address David McLane for some reason or another. Maybe he just wants to be on TV bad, and he wants to be a character like, you guys should talk to me. I don't know. But if they have any sort of restraint, and I shouldn't say he, because I'm sure if he didn't want to be on TV, he wouldn't be there. But if he has any sort of restraint, I would really strongly suggest stop doing that. Do it when it's important. Do it when it's necessary. Do it when the matchmaker needs to make his presence felt. Just answering any heel that walks in the ring, that it doesn't do much. So basically, they're repeating that they deserve a title shot. Like I said, this is a typical Lana Star promo, and they address that they're the most decorated team in the WoW, and they talk to David, and that's that. Next segment, Tormenta with Sophia Lopez taking on Tiki Charmorro, and this is another thing that they have got to give up on. Nigel Zane trying to make Tormenta a big deal. David McLane trying to make her a big deal because they constantly, let's not say constantly. I want to say they did that all through the match. I apologize, wow. I don't want to paint you in a poor light. So let me rephrase that. It is mentioned as a means to give Tormenta some level of status that she is a Mexican champion. Now, that in and of itself is not bad. The fact that they mention that she's a Mexican champion every chance she goes to the ring and then loses in short order is a different thing. I know some people out there are like, well, look, everybody knows wrestling's a work or it's fake and it's kayfabe and this, that, and the other. And what difference does it make? Okay, so I'm going to illustrate the difference. And let's use WoW and me as an example. Okay, so just walk with me here, hypothetically speaking. Let's say that WPN starts producing matches again, so much to the point that I now have a weekly show local to my area. And I'm stressing local. But people find it. Let's just say that, right? I book Penelope Pink, former WoW champion. I'll do one better. Let's just say that is the WoW champion. She gets it back for whatever reason. And I book her. And I openly acknowledge that she's the WoW champion. And every chance I get, I have her beaten. And week in and week out, I'm like, yeah, that's the WoW champion there. And then she just loses to whoever I have in front of her. Do you think that David McLane would appreciate it? See what I'm saying? That's what I mean. It's like, I know people think that how the presentation of stuff like that works. Like, well, it's not that big. He might not, but I doubt it. I doubt that he would like me or anybody else making his champion look like an inferior wrestler on another television show. I doubt that he would. Now he could absolutely say, it don't make no difference to me. But I doubt it. I absolutely doubt it. And that's what I mean. Now the only saving grace here is that there is no title that they're mentioning. It's not like they said, well, she's the CMLL women's champion, or she's the AAA women's champion, or Lucha America women's champion, whatever. There's no promotion attached to she's a Mexican champion. But at the same time, it does not need to be brought up constantly because she hasn't done anything to support the claims that she's a champion. She loses all the time. I know they have to get, or they're trying to give her something, but she loses all the time. If I was the promotion, assuming that Mexican championship was real, but if I was the promotion, I would either say, hey, look, you need to tell them to stop bringing up this thing, or you got to drop the belt. And I need you to drop it soon, and if you don't, I'm just going to strip it from you. Presentation means a lot. Even in a fictional environment, presentation means a lot. And that should not be shortchanged just because. Tormenta, Mexican champion or not, and they're trying to make her a big deal. I think that ship has already sailed. I don't believe you can make her any sort of big deal right now unless she leaves and she's gone for enough time that where people would forget this. So when I've had good in the show, the top tier promo, the Miami Sweet Heat Heavy Metal Sisters match, I get the bad too. I get this Tormenta and Tiki Charmorro. Now the match isn't bad. In fact, I would even go the opposite way and say that Tiki was very surprising to me. Tiki Charmorro, she is delivering the goods amazingly. But it's not so much that I wanted to make reference to, rather than Sophia Lopez and her presentation as well. She's probably as bad as Tormenta in how she's been presented. Comes out to the ring, she looks fantastic, and so does Tormenta. Looks like like she's ready to do some business there. Has a star look about her. I love the cape and everything. Sophia Lopez is somewhat the opposite of what Lana Star. She's coming out handing out cards. I used to like the card gimmick with, because she was somewhat condescending and whatnot when she came out there, because I didn't like the shaking of hands. I thought the cards was better. But she really hasn't done anything with that so far, so I'm starting to lose what it is I had with her giving out the cards. Like, I feel like she needs to be heel and heel all the way, not be smiling and shaking hands with the fans at the ringside. But as that happens, Tiki Charmorro comes out. She's a lovely young lady, smiling, very cute, very easy to like. And I can imagine that's part of the reason that she's there. It's like, I can see why she was hired in the first place. Lopez, before the match starts, does a in-ring promo aimed at Tiki, more or less saying that Charmorro embarrassed her and that, she wants revenge. She caused Los Banditas to lose. Just stuff that's not completely true, but, we'll go with it because she's a heel manager. So she cuts this promo essentially instructing Tormenta to beat up Tiki and get revenge. Tiki does not look worried in the least, so I don't know how effective this threat was. Not only did she not look worried, the second it was over with, she turned her back and started walking away from Tormenta. So it cost her, but she clearly wasn't concerned with it. So turns her back, Tormenta jump starts the match, runs up, nails her in the back of the head. And Tiki Charmorro is now having to get herself together. But it didn't take too long before she charged out and tried to get Tormenta. Didn't work the first time. She got caught with a short-arm clothesline after trying to take Tormenta into the turnbuckle or the corners herself. We're not going to go into the entirety of the match. We'll go back towards the end. And the end was as follows. Tormenta did set Charmorro up for what would have been her finish, the Meteor off the top rope. Charmorro gets out of the way, but it does not stop her from catching a shotgun drop kick. That's what we call it in this area. A shotgun drop kick in the corner. So she does that. Tormenta gets ready to drive the knees into the head of Tiki Charmorro. Charmorro gets out of the way. The knees go into the turnbuckle pad rather than Charmorro. Tomorrow's able to roll Tormenta up, and then 1, 2, 3, she gets the win. Tiki Charmorro wins. She beats Tormenta. And I have to give credit again. I don't like everything the way that is done, but Tiki, talking directly to you now, Tiki having the look of surprise that she won her own match, I thought was a very nice touch. Yeah, I did. I thought her getting that roll up and then immediately going into, like, you can read her face. And it's a face that says, oh my God, I won. Like, I can't believe that I did this. And I thought that was appropriate for her, because even though Tiki is not someone who goes out there and loses week in and week out, Tormenta allegedly is a Mexican champion. She's supposed to be a superior wrestler than Tiki. She had been presented that way, even though her record does not say as such. But in this instance, with the Tiki Charmorro taking on Tormenta, you could believe that it could go either way. You could believe that, I don't know, Tormenta's been losing, Tiki's been kind of winning, but Tormenta isn't really in a mid-card status, and Tiki's not quite up that far. You could believe that, okay, Tormenta could win this. And the fact that she didn't, and Tiki goes over, with the surprise, I felt like it justified the win. She didn't have to grab the tights. It was just a win from nowhere, and wow, she got it. And Tormenta, to her credit, she does the heel thing. She's like holding her head. It's a look of shock and awe on her too. And Sophia Lopez is on the outside, like, what happened? So whether I thought the match was something is one thing. The reactions of the match were priceless. But Tiki gets attacked directly after this by Tormenta and Los Bandidos. The Tonga Twins come out for the save, and I guess we got the start of a new feud here. This looks like this is where this is going. The rivalry or I guess upcoming rivalry of Tiki Charmorro, or are they still called the Island Dynasty now? We'll call them that for the sake of this. The Island Dynasty taking on Tormenta and Los Bandidos. I forget what Sophia Lopez named them as a group. Lopez needs this. She needs this. The credibility of Lopez and her underlings are very, very low. They were attempted by WOW to be presented on the same level as the Fabulous Four and Lana Star and whatnot, but that never happened. I know I've said these exact same things months ago, but particularly when it was the Bandidos against Miami Sweet Heat, because Sweet Heat could have survived. They could have survived the loss. They could have. Los Bandidos cannot survive losing all the time if they're going to have any sort of credibility in that company. I would like to see, even if they got to get by the skin of their teeth, Tormenta and Los Bandidos should win. I don't think that's going to happen, but they should. So, as I said, Charmorro is jumped and then saved by the Tonga Twins, and we got the push into what is potentially a brand new feud. What's my next match here? I gotta get my notes in order. The next segment was WOW recapping the Aussie's attack by Reina Del Rey. I was trying to make sure I worded that correctly. They implied that Nigel went during the break to go and see why she was attacking, and he goes and he finds her dressing room, knocks on the door, and everyone wants to know why you're attacking. She responds, basically, it's none of your business, and then he walks off. It's like, what? So we got ourselves another 10, 20-second interaction between Nigel Zane and a talent on the Raw roster. It's Raw. Why on earth did I say Raw? WOW roster. Talent on the WOW roster. Sorry. The questions, although I think they could have used one or two before she cut it off, because I think she's like the third or fourth heel to just, what are you asking me? I don't want to talk about it. And then they'll just cut it off. And the babyfaces answer as short as possible and moves on. It's not as important as what happened afterwards. What happened afterwards is the important part of the segment. But I will say that I think that it would have been nice if Reina Del Rey had at least given, let's say, 30 or 40 seconds worth of answer. Even if she just had to BS him for a little while, just a little bit of an answer before she cut him off. Before it, she just went into, you know what, I don't want to talk to you no more. Get out. Before she got to that point, it would have been nice if she had been asked, some questions, or she just grabbed the microphone and say, hey, look, while you're here, I got something I got to say. And then, that I've been overlooked too long, and et cetera, and I'm starting to clear a path, and my path goes to the Wild Championship, and whoever happens to hold it at that time, heaven help them. I came with a mission a year ago. I got myself distracted by being involved in a tag team, and now she's not here anymore, and I can focus on what it is I'm supposed to do, what Reina Del Rey is supposed to do. And the first step in that walk towards victory for me is walking on the brick that is Princess Aussie, and Aussie's going to be the first brick that I remove from the foundation of WoW. I don't know. Something along those lines where she is making her declarative statement. It would have been nice to get just a little segment of that. But the important thing here is, of course, the cameraman, I don't know any cameraman that does this, but, we'll go with the idea. The host is sent away, the host being Nigel saying, I don't have any answers for you. And she sends it around. He leaves, but the camera stays and is still pointing into the room, and she doesn't do anything about it. I'm sure she would have seen this camera pointing directly at her, but she didn't do anything about it. She didn't put her hands on the lens or anything like that. And as the door closes, we see in the background Adriana Gambino, and she's closing a briefcase. And I don't know where this is going. I'm interested, but I don't know where this is going. So some people have gone on like, oh, Adriana Gambino's ordered a hit. I get it. So maybe that's the case. Maybe she did order a hit. Maybe she hired her. I mean, hopefully we'll find out in short order. My only, I don't know if I will say it, a full lapse in logic here, but the only thing that I question with this is that Gambino already beat Princess Aussie. She already beat her. So I don't know why Princess Aussie would necessarily be the target here. I mean, maybe they'll explain it away, but I don't get why Adriana Gambino, I mean, going with the information that we have right now, I don't get why Adriana Gambino allegedly would want Reina Del Rey or anybody else to attack Princess Aussie. It's not like Gambino got by on the skin of her teeth. She did cheat to win, but it's not like she just skated by, or that Princess Aussie had the match won, but nobody saw it, and then Gambino then skated by the skin of her teeth. And Aussie makes it clear on the microphone, like, hey, I'm not done with you. If you're going any further in this company, you're still going to have to go through me. That match didn't mean anything because you cheated. They saw you cheated, and I know you cheated, and you know you cheated. So if you're going to make it to the top, your road to the top is about to take a swift detour into defeat when you come up against me. Whatever the case happens to be, it would have felt like there was a purpose there. But when I looked at it just for Gambino assumably working with Reina Del Rey, it didn't feel like there was a point there. Like motivation. I shouldn't say a point. There's probably, there's always a point that you can have. But that didn't feel like it was motivation. Like what is it that made her need to take Princess Aussie out or have someone else do it? Allegedly. We'll say allegedly. But I was fine with it. The next segment, maybe not so much. The next segment is Ariel Sky, and she does a promo on the aftermath of the attack. She's talking about wanting to make Coach proud, and she's basically, I don't want to say she's crying because she's not crying. That would be me giving the wrong information. I don't want to do that. But she is somewhat, is it a full whine? I don't know if I can say it's even that. But she doesn't sound fully confident. Now, maybe that's the way I should phrase it. She doesn't come off as fully confident here. she is here and she's talking about Coach and wanting to please her and how she stuck by her when those other members of Team Spirit that came in and out. And, you know, people told me that wrestling would be hard, but it wasn't going to be anything like this. The promo in and of itself is fine. And I want to be clear with that. I say the promo is fine. Because I have to follow it with this. And I want to illustrate that because I am saying it doesn't mean that this is the right way. Like, oh, wow, they don't know what they're doing. This is what they should be doing, and it's the only way that it should be. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is I feel that it should have been presented differently. Here she feels like a spurned child. I can't believe you would do this to me, and why? And I looked up to you, and I wanted to make you proud, you know, and I guess this is over with. You know, it's like heartbreak. And I can understand that should exist. But at the same time, there should also be anger there. And I think that she should have some anger, some fire behind this promo. Because she was just attacked. It was attacked on national television. Not just that, if you go on, she was benched. Hey, you don't need to be in this match. Go sit down. She was benched, replaced, talked down to, attacked, and then beaten up. You know, by a group. You would think that would make you angry. Especially in the wrestling world universe. That should make you angry. That you would do this when I've done nothing but support you. How dare you? And again, the promo in and of itself is fine. I think it should have been a different route of that, but the promo is fine. I didn't like the explanation point at the end. That's the only part of this that I did not like. I did not like the explanation point at the end. And for those who might not know what I'm talking about, it's the ripping of the picture. I do have to say one other thing before I go any further. One of my coworkers that's in the hub, we were watching the show, and I told you they like to make their comments whether they're warranted or not, whether they know what they're talking about or not. I mean, they're all good guys, but some of them just say some stuff just because they're expecting me to hate it, so they start nitpicking. Oh, she didn't do this body slam right. Like, they don't even know what they're looking at. But one of my coworkers looked at this promo, and the first thing is like, she's reading that off of the floor. I was like, what? He's like, no, man, look, I'm telling you, she's reading this off of the floor. That script is on the floor somewhere, and she keeps looking down. Now, I told him, I don't want to believe that. It could be possible, but I honestly do not want to believe that. I do not want to believe that Ariel Sky is sitting there reading this a promo off of the floor. He is right that she's just looking down a lot. Like, he's absolutely right in that. If you watch the promo, every couple of seconds or so, she's looking down. Whether that be for the brief pause or whatever the case may be, but she stops and takes a pause, looks down, covers her eyes or whatnot, and looks down, then she starts talking again. And that's why I was like, I really hope that this isn't true. I hope that is not the case. That would be so disappointing. Because I like her, but I will stand on this. Whether I like her or not, I do think that there should have been more fire to this. And the ripping of the poster, getting back to that, the ripping of the picture was pointless to me. And I'll explain why. Because it is the end of the team was already done by the time she got to this. Now, there's some people that's on their social media like, well, the ripping of the picture was a declaration of war. I was like, what declaration? She already got hit. I don't think if you get punched in the face, you have to declare the fight. Well, it's time for me to hit you back. No, like, they've already hit you. You don't have to declare anything now. There's no declaration of war. You've been hit. And that's what I felt like with her. And I actually had to explain that to the room when I said, I was like, I was fine with everything, but I'm not good with the picture rip. He was like, what do you mean? What's wrong with the picture rip? I was like, look, and I'm not trying to be overly nitpicky, but this is just how I view things. And I gave him this example. I said, imagine, this is the guy I was talking to. I said, imagine you come into this room with your girlfriend. And in front of me, you, and everybody else in this room, she just publicly says, you know what, so-and-so, I'm not going to mention his name, so-and-so, I'm tired of you and I don't want to be around you and, this thing is over with. Screw you, I'm out. And she says that where we can all see and hear it. And then she leaves. And then next week, you come back in here tomorrow, the next available time that we have the following week. And then you're like, well, I ain't like her no way, and this is over with, and say that we're done. Like, well, she just did that last week. Why are you telling me this now? And that's how I felt about the picture. Like, she's done this already. She hit you in the back with that, and pretty much made a very clear statement that team spirit, as far as I am concerned, is over with. So what are you ripping a picture up for? She's already declared it dead. So yeah, that's just me. Like I said, that's just how I view that. Fine promo, but it is lacking in my opinion, lacking in emotion and sternness. And I will also, and there's only one person that this thing could even rest on in terms of like any sort of emotion, and it's Ariel Sky. But as a quick sidebar, if you've ever gone on to their Instagram, they have these videos that are, I was about to say alleged, but they're exclusive to WOW's social media. And in this is kind of this weird press conference thing that they're doing where the microphone isn't on a stand. Clearly somebody's back there holding it and pushing it between it because they've been trying to hold it still and it doesn't stay that way. It's kind of shaking in the foreground. And the wrestlers or the WOW superheroes, whichever you want to call them, are looking out to nobody as they respond from questions that we don't hear. So, but I bring that up to say, I don't know what it is that they're looking to gain from that. Like the first one was with Lopez, the first one I saw at least, was with Lopez and the new Las Banditas when she introduced Angel Rose, the person that we did not get introduced on TV. And you can just look at the numbers on their social media and say that they should probably introduce them on TV because ain't a lot of people out of that crowd that's looking at this. The numbers don't translate. They're not converting social media engagement off of that show where people are coming in like, oh, well, I need to go and see what they're doing online. So having things online, and I'm not opposed to having things online. Actually, I advocate for it, but I don't think that they should have things that are important to what is supposed to be development of the angle. And and I use that as the example because they introduced Angel Rose as the new member of Las Banditas, and she being Sophia Lopez, explained why, but that was all done on Instagram. This is somewhat similar. I mean, it's not the exact same scenario, but it is a case of should this be online or not? There is a video that's on there for if you need to know what I'm talking about. There's a video that is on there now on Instagram, WOW's Instagram, where Team Spirit is responding to, whatever, the attack. And Ariel Sky, she's clearly evolved. She's hit her next phase in evolution where she can now talk and think like a normal human being. But then they talked to Pep Riley, and she's like, well, yeah, I'm hurt by this. And she handpicked me out of a tournament. I was like, I'm disappointed. What do you think? So the first thing is that Pep Riley, this is like maybe the most I've heard her talk. And even with this, even with watching your friend get beaten up and you get punched in the gut or kicked in the gut and thrown out of the ring, she's still Pep Riley. She's still the character of Pep Riley. There's no anger or anything like that. And then we go to Sasha Sparks, who essentially is like cutting a heel promo, but I'm like, why? Or the beginning phases of it, where she says, more or less, and I'm encouraging you to go listen to it on your own because I can't do it justice in terms of the verbiage. But she basically is like, yeah, and I can't believe that they would drop me. I mean, I understand you two, but I'm good. You know, it's kind of a condescending, and that's not the exact way she phrased it. I want to make that clear. But it's kind of a condescending promo from somebody that we have barely seen wrestle. And maybe that doesn't belong on TV because of how the interaction is, but at the same time, why are we having this level of information to where the bulk of your audience isn't going to be able to see it? So that is not part of the show. It probably should have been, but that's not part of the show, and I wanted to make sure that I brought that up before I forgot. So you have that, and I really believe that some of those things should have filtered in. And that's not the only one. I think the Beast has a promo on there. Like I said, IQ Superior has it also. It's a couple of them, but it's promos or interviews, if you will, that's lost in the ether of time because very few people, relatively speaking, from that show watch those things on the social media platforms, Instagram in this case specifically. Getting out of this segment, there's only one person that can get any sort of sympathy or emotion from the crowd with this, and that is going to be Ariel Sky. I've already seen the press release for the next episode, and I'm a little disappointed with it already, but I'll get to that in a few minutes. So we have next segment. They previewed a medical update of Abilene Maverick. Abilene, the young lady who got hit in the head so hard that she required crutches. That was the preview for the next week. And then they go into the main event. Penelope Pink, Lana Starr, and Becky Lynch McCoy taking on G.I. Jane. This is all fine, except I mentioned earlier something I said, I hope that they don't do this. I hope they don't get into the habit of talking to David McLane all the time, right? And I said that earlier. Well, this is similar. I really like Becky Lynch McCoy on commentary. She's very good at it. She's just a natural heel talker. And if that were her job, I would not be mad at it. I honestly would not. I think even if it ain't there, I think that she could have a run as a good heel commentator. I totally believe that. The problem that I have is that it has become just this assumed and instantaneous thing that if the Fabulous Four out there, somebody has to go sit at the commentating booth. Like we have no choice. If we come out the ringside as a group, then I have to sit at the commentating booth. That's just what I'm supposed to do. This does not need to be the instance that Becky Lynch McCoy or any other member of the Fabulous Four come out there It is just a given thing that they're all right. Well, off to the commentating booth I go. Like I said, I don't have a problem with her as a commentator. I really don't. But it doesn't need to be that it's an instantaneous thing that, hey, she's here, so boom, commentating booth. But that's what happens. Vicky Lynn McCoy that comes out there with Penelope Pink and Lana Starr. I think she would be more useful at ringside. But she being Vicky Lynn McCoy leaves and goes to the commentating booth and then starts interacting with Nigel Zane and David McLane. Lana Starr has a different look coming out to ringside, by the way. She's got a hat on now opposed to the Fabulous Four spiked pink jackets. As I stated, Penelope Pink came out with her manager and I guess tag team partner / enforcer. And she is taking on G.I. Jane, who, according to her Instagram, is a legitimate military woman. Yeah. Looks like this is another reason I said that I think this is a beginning of a taping cycle. Her hair it's not long, but G.I. Jane's hair has come in a little bit. And so I think, all right, well, this must have been at the back end of somebody's taping thing. Jane works with conviction, and I like that she does. Pink bumps around very well for G.I. Jane. It is not the first thing I would think as a natural fit for each other in terms of chemistry. And I don't know if they would have chemistry in having a full-on, banger match necessarily. But it seemed to work here. I mean, at least for me, it seemed to work here. Pink played the heel and the coward well enough. She's getting the upper hand on me. I got to roll out. I got to walk around. I got to, get away from me, that type of thing. Lana Starr, I criticized her earlier for not cheating in a fashion that I felt was effective. But here she, when G.I. Jane decides or tries to get back up on the ring to chase after Penelope Pink, there's Lana Starr. She's waiting on her, and she grabs her leg, pretty much sweeping Jane's leg out from underneath her so that she falls face first onto the apron, the external portion of the apron. I was like, okay. Maybe Jane should have seen Lana Starr coming up behind her, but I was like, all right, well, look, I'm perfectly fine with this. As I said, and I know I brought this up in previous reviews about Jane not being very smooth and she's somewhat rough. But for her, for whatever reasons, just like it did with Chainsaw, it works. Penelope Pink gets in control of the match. She does her heel shtick, including putting Jane's neck across the second ropes and resting her feet on Jane's back. While, of course, Lana Starr is standing in front and she's looking on with glee. Penelope Pink makes a really good heel. I don't like that Lana Starr still used the old wrist thing to try to choke him out. I think it'd be visually more impressive, like I said earlier, to grab him around the neck. Pink did the I'm better than you heel thing, which I thought was nice and fun. She lays down and she starts showing how comfortable she is, and then she starts to do push-ups. And I will admit I like this spot. Jane just swats the arm from underneath Pink, and then she gets on top of her back and she starts doing push-ups of her own. I was like, okay, that's not something you see every day. Pink catches her, she turns it around somewhat soon, catches her with a neck breaker using the second rope of the ring as the leverage point or the point of impact. You can get past all of this. The only problem that I had with the match is that the match, in my opinion, fell flat. It did not deliver any sort of impact. And it is so very hard to try and make a match week in and week out appear to be better than the last and worth you tuning in for. And you don't want to miss this one because it's going to be a banger. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be all those things. It's hard to get people to, come back week in and week out on these matches when it doesn't really change in quality necessarily. And it's tough for me to say it, but yeah, it doesn't really change in quality so much. But the matches that WoW has had in cases like this with Jane and Pink and so on and so forth, they've been fine. I've enjoyed the matches. It didn't really land. It just didn't stick the landing for me. That's all. I mean, I was trying to articulate it another way, but long story short, it just didn't stick the landing. That's all. It was fine. I didn't dislike it. I didn't, and as I go through this, I didn't dislike much of this show. The matches all seemed to be in varying degrees okay. It wasn't infuriating to watch it and like, oh boy, their logic. Why did they do this? What did they do that for? I didn't feel that way. In any case, the match ends when G.I. Jane goes for what we'll assume to be a clothesline. Penelope Pink, just merging the words. Penelope Pink blocks it, spins her, back the other way, hooks her in what would be dragon sleeper position, flips forward, and a version of natural selection, and then gets the win. 1, 2, 3. That was it. That was why I was like, it kind of fell flat just a little bit, but it is what it is. And largely because I feel like Jane at this point was starting to establish herself. Pink had already been the world's champion. And that's not to say that Jane instantaneously should have won. But I do feel like it should have been a more competitive finish. That might be a nice way to say it. So at the end of this, Lana Starr gives another promo, and she's talking about that they're going for the belts. And the Fabulous Four will be on top. We're getting the belts. As I said earlier, she does well with me as a manager, physically speaking, short of a few things, but I also really feel like she needs new promo material. She needs promo material that takes her out of repeating the same directive over and over again. And that's what it feels like. The summary of this episode is that I actually liked the episode. If I was going to grade it, I would probably give it a B- or something like that. It was nice to watch. I liked the reintroduction to top tier. The Princess Aussie, Katarina, I keep wanting to say Katarina Jinx match, although short, serves its purpose. It was just, like I said, just did a bridge Princess Aussie from one thing to the next. Miami Sweet Heat promo has absurd but entertaining. Tormenta, Tiki Charmorro, Tiki probably say that for me just for her reaction and the main event. As I said, Jane's not a smooth or polished wrestler, but I'm fine with that in this instance. I'm okay with Jane not being as good as the rest she looks like she works hard and she puts in effort. Maybe it's the military background. I don't know. But she looks like she works hard and she puts in effort to what she does. So, next week, because that was a full review of this episode here. Next week, if you do not want to hear this, then you may want to just skip ahead to the end. But if you do, you might be listening to this by the time the show airs anyway. But anyhow, if you want to hear it or you want to skip it, now's your chance to do it. All right? So you're still here. I assume that you want to hear it. So here we go. This is the press release for the upcoming episode of WoW. That is going to be episode 229. Episode 81, title Sky's the Limit. And it is delivered as follows. To prove that the members of Team Spirit are more than just bench warmers, Ariel Sky challenges Top Tier to face Team Spirit head on in the main event. A new medical update is revealed, putting the fate of Abilene Mavericks' coveted WoW World Championship title on the line. Tag team action heats up as Exodus and Ice Cold battle the All-American Girls, and in singles action continues with the Brat Pack as member BK Rhythm takes on Holiday. Will newcomers Goldie Collins and Katarina Jinx dethrone the Mother Truckers in the WoW World Tag Team Championship match? And finally, David McLane gets to the bottom of recent allegations against the Beast and is ready to make a final statement. So, I won't get my opinions about all of the matches. I will reserve that until I actually watch it. I will just say I think it's too soon for Team Spirit to begin the match against Top Tier already. It's only been 2 weeks. I think it's too fast for that. Because I question I don't know how you would get out of that and have either one of them look good. It's too soon for one to be decimated before the other. This version of Team Spirit has not established themselves, so it's too soon for them to be losing. But Top Tier is a new heel team, so they shouldn't lose. I wouldn't have booked this match. I was like, it's too soon for this. It's too soon to have them two up against each other. The Abilene Maverick thing, I feel like they're just going to be doing some heel shtick and comedy. Oh my God, I'm too hurt on my head. That's what I feel like is going to happen. You got to write me a doctor's note to keep me out indefinitely so I can hold on to the belt or something stupid like that. I hope I'm wrong. Exodus and Ice Cold versus the All-American Girls. I am going to assume that Exile, or this version of it, will lose. I think it's going to be All-American Girls coming out top. BK Rhythm versus Holiday is almost a certain recipe for BK Rhythm to go down in flames. And this is another one that I said it was a matter of time before something like this happened. Goldie Collins, the dog trainer, is now tagging with Katarina Jinx, the woman who thinks she's a cat, to get a title shot, not just wrestle against, get a title shot against the Mother Truckers. So this is where the problems lie for me. What have these two done to deserve a title shot, first off? And even if you want to go with the open contract thing, they have lost individually numerous times. So what do they need to be tagging up for? To go after the championships. And why did they accept? And you knew this was going to happen. This is the other thing. Katarina Jinx and Goldie Collins were destined to cross paths one way or the other. The dog and the cat. I figured it was going to be a match against each other. That was my prediction. I said that, okay, it's only a matter of time before these two facing off against each other. Them men in the tag team, I wouldn't have predicted because I didn't. But here we are, and they are tag teaming to face against All-American Girls. Why? I don't know. I would probably have more of a problem with this match rather than anything else that's going to be on this episode. And that'll do it. I think that goes through a great chunk of the review and WoW in general. And I certainly appreciate all of you for sitting and staying tuned in. And I hope the chapter markers help. I was going to go through some of the comments on the community tab. Thank you for those of you that have participated in that. I keep trying to find some other stuff to put in there, and I appreciate that some of you out there have been actually participating and going in and answering the questions, leaving the comments, and so on and so forth. I would go into that now, but holy smoke, I mean, it's been another 2 hours. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try to break some of this up for future shows where I can actually address some of the questions that just come in general that I really want to sit and discuss and talk about, because I am happy to say that I feel like I've gotten some really good questions and statements and comments in the last couple of days, just based on either the podcast or some of the stuff that's been posted in the community tab. Just getting to hear a different point of view, because I mean, there's some people out that are listening to this now who really enjoyed WoW back in 2000, or they enjoyed the tournament back then, or Lindsay, if I can use as an example, left a very nice comment about feelings for WoW and whether or not it's a place that some of them should go and stay, or some of them should transition out into doing something else. And I find it very nice to get a different point of view, because I know, of course, I obviously, as we all do, I know how I feel about it, and I know my reasons that support how I feel about it. But then to read somebody else like, well, I think that it could work this way, and here's why. It's not just oh no, it can't be like that. No, just went in and explained it. This is why I think that this works as well, and I like that. I like getting a different perspective, and whether I agree with it or not, it's just interesting to read it and see it, and get your perspective on how this works in their universe and beyond. Just a little bit of it, and I would say if you want to read the comment, just go to the comments tab and look at the answers or the comments for the questions, whether WoW wrestlers should be the final thing for them. Now, I was trying to word it right, but whether that should be the final thing that it should do. She brought up something that I said earlier. Like you got some people in there that may just want to do some less stuff that's not as rough on them, or they may have different reasons. And one of the reasons I said for Amazing Maria / Big Rig Betty, I fully believe, I've not confirmed this, but I fully believe that part of that was just being able to say that she did something with her daughter, just to have that. Because all of this aside, that's invaluable. So, that is a reason that I can get behind. I can understand it. But anyway, like I was saying, I appreciate the statements. I appreciate the comments. I am very happy to have more of those rolling in. Sometimes it's more than I can get to, but I'm just happy that I can see that, and it's coming up, and it's bringing up some other thought-provoking conversations about the booking, the promo, the presentation, so on and so forth. I don't necessarily always care for the over-animated presentation, i.e. Gloria Glitter in her 80s gear and Candy Crush in her pink and white, and Coach doing vignettes, missing things, and saying that she's the top dog and all that stuff like that. But I do like when they're a little bit more sports based, at least at this point, where we got Candy Crush and Gloria Glitter and Coach all in uniform and matching, and it was less about the jokes and delivering more about who top tier is and why we are better than everybody else. So, I am waiting to see this unfold. If you heard the preview segment, you know what I feel about the upcoming episode, and hopefully in some of those cases I will be wrong. I am never upset when I'm wrong about something about WoW. If they prove me wrong, I will accept being wrong. But I will stay tuned and watch, just like we all will, and then I will come back and we will talk about it again. If you'd like to support the show, feel free. Go to WPNWrestling.com. That is the nexus for everything that is going on in the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. And it has a 24/7 stream of wrestling matches, and some other miscellaneous videos that I've compiled and put into the playlist over the years. Of course, you can download the podcast if you are not listening to this on YouTube or watching this, however you want to phrase it. There are links for merchandise here as well. Go to the shop tab and that will take you directly to it. Perhaps to find people at uni.com, because they keep sending me emails asking me to redo my website. Perhaps they will help me create a nice shop tab on the website as well. Who knows? We will see. And, of course, we will close out as we tend to do every week by saying this. First off, I'm going to say be sure to come back next week. And secondly, what I do every week, say that this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying. So long, and we will see you on the next go-round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.